working probably much younger than most people. I started working when I was probably like 10 or 11, but I was working in, my mom owned a construction company, and I worked like answering the phone, and she would just give me money, not like actually on payroll. But my first kind of real job where when I was on someone's payroll was when I was 15. I worked at the Limited.
Okay, so how much did you make at that job?
Honestly, I don't remember, but I feel like I probably made around $6 or $7 an hour.
Okay, so what is your real minimum wage?
I think obviously that it should be increased. I think that minimum wage should allow people to, have a nice place to live or a comfortable place to live, to be able to buy the foods that they want to eat, whether, we know that healthy food costs more, so the food that is good for them and their families, and should allow them to, just have all the comforts that everyone enjoys, so as a basic minimum, right?
So, how do you view politicians and leaders that are anti-raising minimum wage?
I think that just like, everything that's political, it seems more complicated than it is. So we say, we should raise minimum wage. And I think that there are definitely arguments to be made for both sides. And so I think it's important that we listen to what everyone has to say. But I also think that, there's some things that we can't budge on. And I think that minimum wage is probably one of them. So.
Okay. So, we kind of know that. Do you know anyone that is of age or they actually need to support a family that has ever only been making minimum wage and hasn't been able to support it?
Oh, of course, yeah. And I think that in that situation, then they have to be, their income has to be supplemented by the government. So they have to be on, welfare and that kind of thing, which is, not something that people want to do most of the time.
Okay, so how do you think raising minimum wage would affect the country economically or socially?
I think that it would have a positive impact. I think it's nice when people feel like they are working for their money, right? But most people don't want to just kind of feel like they're just taking from the government or feeling like they are receiving handouts. So I think that by raising minimum wage, it's encouraging people to, get a job, be productive in society, even if that means, it's working at Walmart or doing something that isn't being a lawyer or doesn't have the prestige that comes along with working. So I think that it would encourage, raising the minimum wage would have a positive effect on everyone. It would encourage younger people to get jobs. It would be a motivation for people that have been working, at their jobs for a longer period of time. So obviously they would be making above minimum wage, but they would have a higher starting point. I just think it would be positive overall.
Thank you.
Another reason why minimum wage should be raised is because children are not receiving the proper education or attention that they deserve. They are not being fed healthy foods, they can't afford supplies, and so they're really just not in a stable environment, and it's not pushing them to be their best in school. And for a lot of these kids, they don't even have a chance of going off to college unless they have 100% scholarship, and so that won't happen. Kids can also maybe get bullied because of their poverty. This can also turn a lot of kids just onto the streets, like with drugs and stuff, and crime, and maybe feeling like they need to steal in order to just live their life.
So economically, at first, people first see is that the argument most raising minimum wage people would say is that it would affect business owners badly. The truth is that maybe in the first couple of months, the first couple of years, this would happen. But to have anything become better, it has to first become a little worse. And when they do raise minimum wage, they should in the end raise minimum wage. People would be making more. They'd be able to provide for their families better. In the end, more people would be working. They would be working better. They would be making better products. When people aren't feel like they're not making what they deserve, they're not going to put their 100% effort into that job. When children see their parents suffering, trying to provide for a family and they can't, people turn to drugs and crime. These things affecting the economy even worse than the small percent of money that would be going to these people. They begin to depend on welfare and all these government-owned things, because people who have jobs and should be making more are still having to depend on the government because they're not making enough to survive. All these things are like they're harder in the government than giving at least $2 more to people would ever be.